Oh, there you are!
Welcome to Lace Reviews. Today I'm going to talk about Silent Night, Deadly Night 3, the third installment in the Silent Night, Deadly Night franchise. I already made a video about the two first films, so if you haven't seen them already, maybe give them a look, unless you're only really curious about the third installment. In that case, I won't judge you, and let's proceed. This movie is a very big departure from the two first movies in that it brings in supernatural elements. It starts out with this dream sequence in this white hospital where the lead protagonist Laura is confronting this man who is lying comatose in a bed with this weird cage over his exposed skull or his exposed brain. And then she's chased down by Santa Claus and is killed by Santa Claus. Turns out it's not a dream sequence, it's not real events, it's that she is a clairvoyant, someone with psychic abilities. And this movie will sound really weird when you talk about it because it is really weird. It's just an amalgamation of all these weird ideas that really don't have much to do with the first two movies. And not only is she clairvoyant, she's also blind, so she can see without seeing. I wonder if there's something thematically going on there. And she's at the hospital because the lead doctor there believes that psychic people can use their abilities to access the minds of comatose people, especially violent criminals, and help cure them or at least understand them through reading their minds and memories. They also believe that there is something like shared memories, that all humans share the same memories, and that the psychic people will then be able to read those memories and help. Honestly, it's a bit convoluted. It's just a mumbo jumbo, basically.
You know, I don't like your attitude.
But it tries to serve the plot because that means that there is this psychic link between her and the comatose patient, who just happens to be the Santa Claus killer, the guy from the second film who was shot dead by the police but comes alive at the very last frame of that film. Now, there's a lot to assess already here. So, opening scene is her accessing his mind. It's not her dream, it's her seeing a vision through his mind. How she's doing it is never really established, but she's reading his mind. She's also creating her own ideas based on that. She's not always been blind. She was blinded by a plane accident that killed her parents, it would seem, meaning that she does have visual memory. I guess that's why she can visualize things as much as she can. So, okay, we have the Santa Claus killer from the second film. It's not really a big surprise that he survived, but what is a big surprise is, well, the whole elephant in the room, the cage on his head. The metal cage with this glass dome and his exposed brain. Well, I suppose it's not exactly exposed, but he's missing his skull cap. Well, they do explain in the movie that after the police shot him, in order to prevent him from dying, they had to do intensive surgery on him and basically had to rewire his entire brain. That means that he basically has no memory left, that he also is pretty much unable to speak, that he is very driven by his instincts, that he has no real way of reasoning, it seems. Meaning that he's basically Frankenstein. So yes, this movie is Skinner's 2 meets Frankenstein. Frankenstein's monster. Why is that necessary? He's never shot in the head. He never takes trauma to the head in the second film. I know that the body is complex and that you can become brain damaged and enough for your mind maybe to need rewiring or surgery. Well, maybe not surgery, without being damaged to the head exactly. Like if you are lacking oxygen or if some other thing, you can become brain damaged as a result of that. But this kind of surgery shouldn't really be a response to that. It does seem a bit weird, and honestly, I don't really think that they really cared. This movie stinks or reeks of a movie that had an idea. They tried to get this movie filmed, and then they struggled a bit with finding the funding for it or finding someone who would make it. And then what if we make it a sequel? Because, if they get that franchise money, if they get that sequel money, at least there will be some audience, someone expecting to see something from the first or second film in this. And that might be how they sold it. That's why it seems to be not care at all about the first or second film, not even surface level attention to it. And they don't really use this for anything. Like, they just seem to okay, we can take this character from the previous movie that has an established backstory. Yes, we recast him so he's not recognizable, and yes, we change his character completely through making him brain damaged. But at least there will be something in the movie that refers back to the previous installments. It makes it really weird to look at the context of the Silent Night, Deadly Night franchise because this movie just sticks out. Or does it? We will, of course, see how much it sticks out when we talk about the later installments, but compared to the two first movies, this is a completely different story. That does, of course, sometimes refer back to the original because she can access his memories. She sees him seeing Santa Claus being killed, as seen from the first film. she does see the struggles he's going through, and this connection also creates a link between them. So he is aware of her. He, for some reason, doesn't like her, and she gets more and more traumatized from accessing his mind from these experiments. So she wants to quit. Only that when she doesn't want to do it anymore, the head doctor tries to persuade her for the greater good, because he believes that this can cure. Like, if she can read his mind, she can find out what creates his murderous behavior, even though he's comatose, they can cure him. So for him, it's like the venom of the snake can cure a snake bite, something like that. That's his idea in this movie, that they can use the psychopathy of this comatose person to help cure other people, or at least prevent other people from becoming serial killers, from becoming maniacs, psychopaths, whatever. That is the main plot line, the main plot of this movie, or at least the incentives that created this mess that they're all in, because as she keeps having visions of people getting killed, waiting for her brother to pick up and driving her to celebrate Christmas. She's going to celebrate Christmas at her grandma's house, so she's waiting for her brother to pick her up. While she's waiting, this drunk Santa Claus walks into the hospital, because he can, walks into the room of this comatose patient. He belittles this comatose patient, makes fun of him, and that provokes him so much that he wakes him from his coma, because that's how comas work. Actually, I think there are some theories that actually can't be how comas work. I don't think those theories are well supported by the medical field, but there are at least some theories out there that comatose people are much more aware of their surroundings than they appear to be. Anyway, he's walking from his slumber, proceeds to kill the Santa Claus, and then the only thing on his mind, because his mind has basically been wiped, is to find this girl that he has a link with. And he does that by then going to her grandma's house, because his brain tells him that that's where she is. That's at least what the movie seems to be telling you. Okay, that's already a lot to take in, and this is the first 5-10 minutes of the film. It's much more convoluted than it should be. Yes, he breaks out. She is on her way to celebrate Christmas at the grandma's house together with her brother and the brother's girlfriend. Brother's girlfriend, who does look uncannily like the girlfriend. It's never mentioned in the movie, but I actually thought they looked so much alike that I was confused in one scene where they're nude together. It's a bit creepy that he finds a girl who's so similar to his sister, and like, something going on there, maybe, I don't know. I don't know, the movie doesn't address it. Should I address it? Maybe. I am. So, for some reason, they're already in the car. Then the Santa Claus killer, the comatose patient, still finds the time to go through the hospital, kills the receptionist, goes out, finds a car, kills the owner, and then manages to drive to the grandma's house before our protagonist arrives. I have no idea how that works. It really shouldn't work. Especially looking at the car he has, it's a really bad, like an old car. He shouldn't be able to arrive faster, especially not that much earlier. Like, the amount of time he has with the grandma would suggest he's maybe spending at least 20-30 minutes there. And then at least 10-15 minutes in addition before our protagonist arrives. And we don't even know how long that journey is. It really seems weird that this is possible. This is a plot hole. This is actually a plot hole. The grandma takes him in thinking he's a vagrant. So yes, Laura arrives, established that she knows the house very well because after her parents died in the plane accident, more as just giving them a weird backstory and explaining why she's blind. Not why she's clairvoyant. I don't know if it tries like other movies have done that after an accident you become clairvoyant or whatever, or psychic. This movie doesn't exactly tell you that. It hints at it, but that's about it. It's another one of those things that's just shoehorned in without really knowing what to do with it as a plot device or whatever. And grown up in the house, she knows exactly where everything in the house should be. And something is wrong because the grandma isn't there, they can't find her, the food is cooking at the stove, so something has gone on. And the brother, the girlfriend are just very quick to try to calm her down, saying, oh, she's probably just out somewhere, because sure, someone would just leave while the food is cooking on the stove. I mean, yeah, if she's senile, but she's not senile. She doesn't suffer from dementia. So this is not something someone would do. They should be much more worried than they actually are. And this is where the final element of the story comes into play as well, because as this is going on, the doctor has called the police for a police detective or a lieutenant to come and, examine the crime scene at the hospital. They also look at the surveillance tapes where they can see that after he got up from his coma, he was just wandering around a bit, like aimlessly, almost like he's brain dead, because he kind of is. They can see him whispering Laura or exclaiming Laura over and over, so they know that he's going for her. So that is actually explained. It is explained how they know that he's going after her, meaning that they go to her place. Like, they're also driving to the grandma's house to prevent any further crimes. The big problem here is that the lieutenant wants to shoot him dead. He doesn't understand why they didn't just kill him in the first place. I mean, he's a maniac. He has killed multiple people. Why did they go through so much effort of keeping him alive? And that's when the doctor explains to him that the way he sees it, understanding him, being able to maybe cure him, or at least read his trauma, they can, if not cure him, then cure other people, prevent these things from happening. The things I already went over before. That's when all this explained. A lot of this movie just takes place in their car or in the car of a protagonist and the boyfriend. That's a lot of car. Like, this movie is very cheap. A lot of it takes place in a car. The rest of the movie takes place in this house. I will add in the time code here because I didn't write it down, but I think 20-30 minutes, nothing really happens. They're just walking around the house, wondering where the grandma is at, taking a naked bath together while Laura is just somewhere. They are slowly, like, why is the grandma's car missing? Like, they're slowly piecing together that something is wrong. Laura keeps worrying, like, she gets these visions that something is wrong, not that she gets a vision of what's wrong. Suddenly, the comatose patient, in complete zombie Hulk mode, smashes through the door. Not just full force, he just smashes his arms through the door and wants to kill them, and they try escape, only that they can't really escape because he's already in the house, so they will stay in the house. They try to get help. They are just running around this house, trying to avoid being killed while essentially waiting for the help to show up in the shape of the police. And that's actually pretty much the rest of the movie. There's not much to talk about here. Yeah, the rest is just him sometimes killing someone, or maybe we think he kills someone, but he doesn't. One scene has him in a really cartoonish way taking someone and dragging them under a bed. What happens there? Like, his character doesn't really make sense. This is such a weird movie. Just, it's so full of different ideas. Her blindness isn't really used in the movie that much. There are a few scenes where it does come into play, like when she makes some noise in the basement and alerting the killer. But overall, like, because she's so familiar with the house, it never seems to be an obstacle to her. Only when it's convenient and when it can put her into a few uncomfortable situations, which really doesn't happen a lot. This should be a scary situation. This should be a thrilling situation. This should be an interesting situation to put a blind person in a situation where that person is being hunted by a murderer or a monster or whatever. That has been done in movies since, and probably also before. It's a very cool idea that the movie just doesn't utilize. It doesn't really do enough with this concept. It doesn't do its service. Barely even lip service. Also her clairvoyance, her psychic abilities. It gives her this spider sense, but she doesn't really use a spider sense. A few times where it's convenient, she can kind of sense so that something is wrong, but most of the time the movie just omits that she has this ability. Also, she doesn't seem to be in control of the power, so maybe that's why it doesn't really work for her. But honestly, it doesn't really work. It just doesn't work. This movie has so many ideas, but it doesn't really utilize them well. It doesn't really expand on the ideas. It just feels lazily written. It doesn't really seem like enough love or care or attention went into this movie. So what else is there to say about the movie? My overall impression of this movie is that it's a subpar horror movie, a subpar thriller. The first movie was a slasher. The second film was not exactly a slasher, but still mostly a slasher. This is more of a monster movie with slasher, thriller, supernatural elements. So it's more and more diverging from the original formula, which does make sense, I guess. That's how it often happens with these franchises. It's weird, and it's mostly boring, because actually I think when I talk about it, it sounds much more interesting than it actually is. I really want to stress how much of this movie is just people in cars and people running around a house. Not a lot happens. And it's actually just boring. Yes, it is bonkers a bit on paper. It's not terrible. I think it is slightly below average for a low-budget movie, which would put it below average in general. But it just doesn't look that great. The sound design is very cheap. The acting is not good, but it's not awful either. It's just not good. It feels cheap. It does have the feeling of a made-for-TV movie in that we do see boobs, so I guess that's not the case. But most murders happen more or less off-screen. We don't even see the kills. Or half off-screen, zooming up to a screaming face or seeing someone pulled under a bed. And the murders we do get or kills are not really that entertaining, meaning that, yes, it's even less of a slasher because it doesn't have entertaining kills. It has so many philosophical elements or so many things that could be interesting if the movie expanded on them, or if it just picked one of the subjects to deal with. But it's just all over the place. Again, I didn't hate it. I just didn't think it was that good. It's definitely not so bad it's good. It has no element of so bad it's good. It's weird. The writing is kind of bad, but it's not so bad it's good. Especially not if you see it. If you talk about it, yes, it can sound like it's so bad it's good. I don't see a reason why I could recommend this movie. It's just not that interesting. If you like the two first movies, there's especially no reason to watch this because it has virtually nothing to do with them. I had so much I had to omit from the other movies just to keep to keep it concise. But this movie, I said practically everything that's worth saying about it, except for maybe two scenes I didn't expand on. It's just not worth your time. But I will already tell you that the fourth installment, Silent Night, Deadly Night 4, is a much more interesting movie. It's a much more entertaining movie. I'm really looking forward to talking about that movie and showing it to you because that is much better than this. There's much more to say. It's much more wild, much more bonkers. So if you haven't seen the fourth installment, I'm really looking forward to making a video on it and to showing it to you. And in case you're interested, you can always, subscribe if you want to see when it comes out, or you can just drop in every now and then and see if it's out or if something else is out. You can drop me a little hi, a little hello, a little smooch. I wouldn't mind a little smooch. And have a good time. Enjoy the Christmas, enjoy the holidays, enjoy the season, enjoy whatever you're celebrating. A big holiday greeting to you, and even a happy new year if it's closer to you now than Christmas was at this point. Bye.